Hi guys, let's have a look at another movie with Uncle Cage, Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans.
Back at home.
It's about a policeman during the pinnacle of his career, joining social evils. So let's see what the police are like. In the evening, Terence and his colleagues are investigating the police station after a storm. Through delays of personnel, they find a prisoner in the police station. They go to the cell and find a poor prisoner. During heavy rain, the water level rose, causing the cell be flooded. The prisoner must ask Terence and his colleagues for help. He acts like a real cop, takes off his jacket and jumps into the water to save the poor prisoner. His courage helps him rise to the rank of lieutenant, but his spine gets seriously injured. Unfortunately, he has to rely on drugs to relieve his pain. 6 months pass. The police receive a new mission. Terence leads his subordinates to the scene of a murder. They consider everything carefully. Through the final clues, the police discover that the killer is the infamous drug dealer, Tauta. The police station decides to blockade on a large scale to track him down. The director, James Presser, gives Terence the task as he trusts him. He happily accepts the task and quickly comes up with the plan. Before going on duty, Terence goes to Frankie's, his girlfriend's house, and brings her drugs. They both snort something. A few days later, when Terence is in the pharmacy to buy painkillers, he gets a phone call saying that the police arrested a drug addict. This guy knows the location of the drug boss, Tauta. He quickly returns to the police station. Terence's colleague, Stevie, is questioning the addict. He thinks Stevie's way won't work with this guy. It seems all types of threats and warnings are useless too, because this guy is rather stubborn. Stevie struggles to get any useful information. After that, they have an argument. Terence decides to go and ask the addict himself. Whilst talking to the suspect in a friendly manner, the addict finally gives up an important clue. Tauta has a hiding place in the city. Terence wants to arrest Tauta, and the addict fears he has revealed too much information. Fearing Tauta, he doesn't say anything more. Terence feels extremely tired after the interrogation. His spine is hurting badly. Terence is about to go to the waiting room to lie down for a while, when a policeman from the evidence department comes to the waiting room. He tells Terence that after an inspection of the evidence department, they found many drugs are missing. It turns out that Terence has been taking advantage of his position to facilitate the theft of confiscated drugs, and Munt covers him. Facing the evidence and with increased security, Munt decides not to help Terence anymore. Without drugs, he goes to find another way to get them. While going out on patrol, he takes advantage of his police status to seize drugs. From a distance, he sees a young couple. They seem to be habitual criminals. He double-checks their belongings and makes them share their drugs with him. As he inhales, his eyes fade. He also receives pleasure from a pretty girl right in front of her boyfriend's eyes. His spinal pain is also temporarily eased. Next, he goes to steal cocaine from a friend of Frankie, all because the medicine soon fails to solve Terence's problem. As time passes, he still can't do anything with the previous case. He chooses to attend the funeral of the ill-fated victim. He assumes that through the victim's family, he will receive some information. As expected, Terence learns many things here, from the crying and angry family members. After the funeral, he finds the related person through the information provided. He asks an old lady's nephew about what he knows in the case. The boy is most likely a witness to the murder. Finding the clue, Terence returns to the police station to report his progress. After monitoring the report results, they decide to create a new plan of arrest. They start with Tauta's associates finding where they are hiding. Finally, they are determined to go on the mission. Terence and his subordinates drive to a suburb. He approaches the suspect through their neighbor's house. The arrest of this accomplice goes unexpectedly well. They question the accomplice G. A few more clues are found. However, G is playing dumb and doesn't say anything. His actions anger the police. No problem, there's still one more accomplice. They have another chance. Work has not progressed yet. Terence decides to go to the pub and meets Ned, who specializes in betting. He says that his daughter's license was stripped due to speeding and hopes Terence can help him. Terence gives a condition for helping his daughter. If Ned gives him 0.5 points in the Louisiana versus Kansas bet, he will help. Ned accepts for his daughter. Terence first comes to the scene and meets the traffic police. But he is unexpectedly met with hostility when he asks for a favor. Terence is angry at the cop's honesty. Here an old female colleague sees him. Fortunately, he knows her, and she happily helps him with a car deal. For a short time, Terence goes to Midget's, Dauta's accomplice. They quickly reach his house, facing the familiar sight of police. The female host is very depressed and says softly to Terence. He is hiding in a wardrobe. He goes to the closet and pulls out Midget. He asks him to tell them where Dauta is. Although at this point, he already knows everything. But Midget doesn't tell him anything about Dauta. Terence keeps questioning him. Unexpectedly, Dauta hires a lawyer to defend him. They go straight to the police station and are about to open a trial to convict Dauta. The witness, Traile, has a very important role. Terence decides to take the boy to protect him. He takes Traile to his girlfriend's house to help her resolve some work disputes. She opens the door with a bruised face. Terence is furious. He bursts into the house and uses his police status to warn the guy. Then Terence leaves with his girlfriend and Traile to find the final result of the bet. He takes him to the cafe to wait for him. Sadly, the boy sneaks away. Terence is very worried about his safety because Dauta is not a nice person. And without the boy's testimony, Dauta will most likely be successfully defended by a lawyer. He goes out to look for Traile without success. He goes to the hospital to ask around. Finding his grandmother, Terence threatens her with anger. But his grandmother's helper says Traile will not come back because he is on a plane to England as he has family there. The police have lost important evidence. Terence causes big trouble and is questioned by his superior. After that, he temporarily returns to the police station and waits. Unexpectedly, Ned is there. His daughter's speeding case is yet to be resolved. Ned said Terence never solved the problem and asked him to pay the lost bet. While Terence is talking to Ned, his girlfriend Frankie calls. A guy named Dave is at her door. To protect his girlfriend, he drives to her apartment. It turns out that Dave is the boss of a guy Terence had robbed drugs off before. He wants Terence to pay off his debt to him and asks him for $58,000. What an unlucky person. He is isolated and helpless. There's no other way. He has to accept his terms. He asks his girlfriend to return to his father's house. Unexpectedly, there is a dispute with his stepmother. While Terence is solving this problem, two officers come and tell him that his girlfriend's trouble and his threatening behavior on duty with the elderly have caused him to be suspended from work. He finds the director. He sends him into the evidence room, but this makes it easier for him to steal drugs. Terence, who is in debt, is preparing to move to a new position. Actually, he finds the drug dealer Dauta and makes a deal with him. He intends to provide information about the anti-drug police for Dauta. With each piece of information, Dauta has to pay Terence a certain reward. Faced with such a compelling deal, Dauta agrees. Thanks to Terence's tip-off, he successfully evades the police. And thanks to the information, he also receives remuneration. He brings $10,000 to Ned. Terence goes to his father's house and finds his girlfriend Frankie, but she tells him that she wants to change. She wants to kick her addiction. Before leaving, she asks him to help bring her clothes. Terence agrees. He returns to his girlfriend's apartment building and finds his photo in the closet. He has won a lieutenant medal, yet after only a few months, he lost himself. When Terence drives out of the apartment building, Dave follows him to Dauta's hideout. Terence and Dauta are both drug addicts. He seems to go crazy after smoking something. They laugh loudly. Then he hands Dauta a cigarette. He uses this to save Dauta's DNA. Then Dave comes to look for Terence. He threatens everyone in the hope they will give him the drugs. Dauta is not an idiot and he opens fire, killing Dave and his accomplices. Terence seems to be hallucinating and asks Dauta to shoot a few more shots. And the junior is hit but still tenses. They give him another shot. Terence's death is solved. He returns to the police station and tells the story of Dauta killing Dave to his colleagues. He also provides evidence about Dauta. After that, he seems to have regained his position. Everything goes smoothly. He doesn't just pay back his $50,000 debt, but also solves all the threats of blackmail. Terence is given the title of captain. His girlfriend Frankie gives up drugs at this time. Not only that, Ned also gives him the $10,000 back that he bet, as Ned's daughter case has been resolved. The murder case is finally coming to an end. Dauta is finally arrested by the police. We can see after Terence rescued the prisoner and was promoted to lieutenant, his life did not improve. He had to deal with all kinds of troubles from his family, money, and work. He even became an addict and suffered from spinal pain since saving the prisoner. All these problems have been resolved, and Terence finally becomes the captain. So when you face the many difficulties of life, don't lose faith. Try to overcome the hurdles with persistence and diligence, and you will eventually reach the greener grass on the other side. Okay, that's all for today. See you next time.